Imagine this. You arrive home after a long trip, expecting a warm welcome. When you get there, the house is empty. All the furniture is gone, the doors are wide open, and your entire family has vanished without a trace. There's no sign of a struggle, no note, nothing. Just silence. This unsettling feeling is exactly what Governor John White must have felt in 1590. When he returned to find the Roanoke colony, America's first English settlement, completely gone. This is the story of the lost colony of Roanoke, one of America's oldest and most haunting unsolved mysteries. Our story begins in 1587. Queen Elizabeth I of England is eager to establish a foothold in the New World. To compete with the Spanish and expand her empire, about 115 brave men, women, and children set sail across the treacherous Atlantic. Their destination, Roanoke Island, a sliver of land off the coast of what is now North Carolina. They weren't just soldiers or explorers. They were families. They were carpenters, farmers, and craftsmen, all dreaming of building a new life, a new England, in a wild and unknown land. They arrived, built simple homes, and tried to carve out a future for themselves. Among these hopeful settlers was a very special person. Just a few weeks after they landed, Governor John White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Virginia Dare. She holds a unique place in history as the first English child born in the Americas. Her birth was a symbol of hope, a sign that this new colony could truly take root and flourish. The arrival of a baby made the settlement feel less like a military outpost and more like a real community, a home. But this symbol of new beginnings would soon become central to one of history's greatest disappearing acts. Life in the New World was brutal. The settlers quickly realized their supplies were dangerously low. The land was unfamiliar, and their attempts at farming were not as successful as they had hoped. Relations with some of the local Native American tribes were tense. Facing the prospect of starvation, the colonists made a difficult decision. They asked their governor, John White, to sail back to England to gather more food, tools, and reinforcements. It was supposed to be a quick trip. White promised he would return as soon as possible. He left his daughter, his newborn granddaughter Virginia, and the entire community behind, believing he would be back within months. But fate had other plans. When White arrived in England, he found his country on the brink of war. King Philip II of Spain was preparing to launch his massive Spanish armada to invade England. Every available ship, including White's, was commandeered for the war effort. His quick supply run turned into an agonizingly long wait. For 3 long years, White was trapped in England, consumed with worry for the family and colony he had left behind across the ocean. Every day, he must have wondered if they were safe, if they had enough to eat, if they were still waiting for him. Finally, in August of 1590, 3 years after he left, John White managed to secure passage back to Roanoke. As his ship approached the island, he scanned the shoreline, hoping to see the familiar sight of smoke rising from chimneys or people running to the beach to greet him. But there was nothing. An eerie silence hung over the island. When he and his sailors went to shore, their worst fears were confirmed. The settlement was deserted. It was a ghost town. The strangest part was how it looked. The houses and cottages had been carefully dismantled, not burned or torn down in a violent attack. The heavy cannons and defensive fortifications were gone. There were no human remains, no skeletons, no signs of a battle or a struggle. It was as if over 100 men, women, and children had simply packed up their belongings and vanished into thin air. Where did they go? What could have possibly happened to them? The scene was more confusing than terrifying. It didn't look like a massacre. It looked like a planned departure, but a departure to where? As White and his men searched the abandoned settlement, desperate for any clue, they found something. Carved into a wooden post of the fort's entrance was a single cryptic word, Croatoan. Just that one word. White searched further and found the letters Crow carved into a nearby tree. He knew what Croatoan meant. It was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, located about 50 miles to the south. It was also the name of a friendly Native American tribe that lived there, a tribe led by their chief, Manteo, who had actually traveled to England with White years before. This clue gave White a glimmer of hope. Before he had left for England 3 years prior, he had arranged a secret signal with the colonists. He told them that if they had to leave Roanoke, they should carve their destination into a tree or post. He also gave them another instruction. If they were forced to leave because of danger or an attack, they were to carve a Maltese cross above the name of their destination. White searched everywhere around the Croatoan carving. There was no cross. This suggested that the colonists had left willingly, that they weren't in immediate danger when they departed. Perhaps they had simply moved to Croatoan Island to live with their native allies. White was desperate to sail to Croatoan to find his family, but once again, fate intervened. A powerful storm began to brew, making it impossible for the ship to safely navigate the shallow waters around the islands. The ship's captain, low on supplies himself, refused to risk it. He turned the ship around and sailed for the Caribbean, eventually heading back to England. John White never saw his family again. He would die years later, never knowing what happened to his daughter, his granddaughter Virginia, or the lost colony of Roanoke. And so the theories began. For centuries, historians, archaeologists, and amateur sleuths have tried to piece together what happened. The most optimistic theory is that the settlers did exactly what the clues suggested. They moved to Croatoan Island. They may have assimilated into the friendly Croatoan tribe, intermarrying and adopting their way of life. Another idea is that they faced starvation and decided to move inland, splitting into smaller groups to increase their chances of survival. Some believe they were attacked and wiped out by a more hostile tribe, perhaps the Spanish who had a presence in Florida. Another tragic possibility is that they tried to build or repair a boat and sail back to England on their own, only to be lost at sea. For a long time, there was no physical evidence to support any of these ideas. But in recent years, archaeology has started to shed new light on the mystery. Researchers have found English-style pottery from that specific time period on Hatteras Island, the former Croatoan Island, and at other sites on the mainland. These artifacts were found mixed in with Native American pottery, suggesting that English settlers and native people may have lived together in the same communities. This evidence strongly supports the theory that the colonists didn't just vanish, they assimilated. They split up and joined different Native American groups, blending their cultures over time. Eyewitness accounts from later explorers in the 1600s and 1700s mentioned encounters with native people who had gray eyes and light hair, and who claimed their ancestors were white people. Even with these tantalizing clues, we still don't have a definitive answer. There is no smoking gun, no single discovery that solves the puzzle completely. We don't know if Virginia Dare grew up to have a family of her own among the Croatoan people. We don't know if the settlers lived out their lives peacefully or met a tragic end. The story of Roanoke is a powerful reminder of the challenges and uncertainties faced by the first Europeans in America. It's a tale of hope, of a dream for a new beginning that ended in a profound and enduring mystery. The lost colony of Roanoke remains America's oldest cold case, a ghost story written into the very first chapter of its history, leaving us to wonder forever what really happened to those 115 souls who simply walked away and never came back. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by historical mysteries like this one, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories from the past. Let us know in the comments what you think happened to the Roanoke colonists.